Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. Today, I want to talk about child abuse. I want to talk about child abuse. Now, there was an article today by propublica.org, and I'll leave the link in the description below. And it was an article titled Calls to Illinois Child Abuse Hotline Dropped by Nearly Half Amid the Spread of Coronavirus. Calls to Illinois child abuse dropped by nearly half amid the spread of coronavirus. And that is troubling. That is really troubling. The article goes on to state, it says that with schools, daycare centers, and preschools around Illinois shut down as part of a statewide effort to contain the spread of the coronavirus, calls to the Department of Children and Family Services Abuse and Neglect Hotline have dropped dramatically over the past week. But child welfare experts and others don't believe that this decline reflects a decrease in abuse. On the contrary, many fear that children are now at a greater risk of being hurt as families, many facing additional stress over work and health issues, hunker down in isolation. Because children aren't in school or childcare, the teachers, social workers, counselors, most likely, the ones who are most likely to spot the signs of abuse and who are required by state law, those are called mandated reporters. I myself am a mandated reporter. We can't report those allegations because we're not there. We're not there to see the signs and make that call. Unfortunately, it says, unfortunately, we know that there aren't changes in the number of children being abused or neglected. So that, they don't think the numbers are really going down. It's just the number of incidents that are being reported. Those are going down. The actual calls are going down. Now get this, during the week of March 9th, before Governor J.B. Pritzker ordered all schools closed, DCFS received 6,672 reports of abuse and neglect via the statewide hotline. 91% came by phone and 9% came through online reporting. Pritzker's shutdown of the schools went into effect that following Tuesday, March 17th. And as parents began to lose their jobs or were ordered to work from home, the number of hotline reports plummeted. Get this, the number of hotline reports via phone or online plummeted by 45% to 3,675 reports that week. And those are the figures by DCFS. The hotline receives about 950 calls a day during peak times. 950 calls a day, about 6,650 a week, according to a report from 2019. So the steep drop comes at a perilous moment for families. Child welfare experts worry that the uncertainty and anxiety caused by the coronavirus and impact it will have on people's jobs, their ability to pay bills or make rent will put children at an increased danger at home. The risk of child abuse and neglect just shot through the roof, said Kate Gordon Eller, an attorney and founder of the Gordon Foundation, a Chicago-based child welfare nonprofit. The stress on everybody is growing every day. People are not able to maintain the same income. Then you have all these kids who are home all day and it's indefinite. We don't know when we're going back. We don't know what's going on, okay? Because they're still trying to figure this whole COVID-19 out. The situation may worsen in the weeks to come. Stracock said he expects to see the number of reports of abuse and neglect tumble further in the next week. So less and less people are going to be calling about child abuse. And that's something that I feared when the governor was initially talked about closing the schools. That was one of my first thoughts. I was like, man, a lot of children are going to be in danger of being abused. Um, even more, because they're already being abused, but even more, they're at home all day with their abuser, And so it goes on to say that following Pritzker's shelter at home order, which went into effect on Saturday, children are even more removed from the public eye, likely spending less time outside and with emergency access to doctors and dentists who are designated as mandated reporters because they are legally required to alert the state when they suspect abuse or neglect. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's sad. So just make sure you reach out. Um, I don't know. Check in on your people. Okay. Before I go, I want to share something with you all about, some of the statistics with child abuse, especially in the African American community, in the Black community. Child abuse is more common than you think in the Black community. In surveys of adults, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 6 men report that they were sexually abused as a child. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 6 men report that they were sexually abused as a child. All right, now I'm going to give you a lot of information here in a short period of time. But before we go any further, hit the thumbs up button. It helps the channel to grow. It helps me bring more valuable content to you, such as this. Hit the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you'll get notifications of when I upload new videos. All right. Moving forward. So, it's a Black thing too. A lot of people don't think that, well, not a lot of people, but Black folks, mum's the word when it comes to sexual abuse in our community. Mum's the word, okay? Many African Americans think that child sexual abuse is more typical among white people. Statistics show that Blacks are sexually abused, sexually victimized in childhood at about the same rate as whites. One more time. The same rate as whites. We just don't talk about it. It's not a white thing. It's not a whoever thing. It's a thing. It's happening. Okay. Now, when it comes down to it, to who the predators are, I mean, this is near and present danger. Near and present danger. Okay. 2/3 of all victims of sexual assault reported to the police were under 18. Under 18 years old. In nearly 95% of the cases, the offender was a family member or an acquaintance. A family member or an acquaintance. So that means that could be a sister, a brother, an uncle, a godfather, a play uncle. That person was always coming around. It could be a grandfather. It could be a father. Okay, that's how close it is. Near and present danger. Now, as it relates to the socioeconomic aspect of it, rich or poor. Okay. Poverty, which contributes to violence in many communities, is not seen as a risk factor for child abuse, for child sexual abuse. Abuse is more likely to be reported among low-income families, but is virtually undetected in families whose money or status shield them from the authorities. So now you're starting to see why the reporting is higher in certain segments of society and lower in other segments of society. That's why. Okay. Again, as it relates to race, race matters in this. African American women are less likely than white women to involve the police in cases of child sexual abuse. Fears about betraying a family by turning abusers into the system and distrust of institutions and authorities often lead Blacks to remain silent about family business. Family business. Now, you know, a lot of Black folks will tell you growing up, family business was family business. You know, you didn't go around telling everybody what's going on in your house. You know, me personally, we didn't have any of that madness going on in our house. But that was just the thing with Black folks. Hey, family business is family business. You don't go talk about that to anybody. Whatever goes on in this house stays in this house. And I'm pretty sure a lot of Black folks can agree with what I'm saying. Boys are also abused. Boys are also abused. About 14% of all young victims of sexual assault are male. 14% of all sexual assault victims are male, according to police reports. 20% of sexual abuse of boys are committed by women. 20% is committed by women. Okay, so this is, with both sexes, male and female, are committing these atrocities to these young men and women. Among African Americans, among African Americans, homophobia perpetuates the denial of sexual abuse of boys. The homophobia perpetuates the denial of sexual abuse of boys. Now, with that being said, a lot of people in our community tend not to understand the homosexuality aspect of things because of this aspect right here. It perpetuates the denial of sexual abuse of boys. Now, we can chat in the comments about that, but that's a whole nother story. But just think about that. Think about growing up. Think about growing up and how, if this happened in your household. If this happened in your household, just think about that. Okay, I want to move forward. I don't want to keep you guys too long. All right. Now, let's talk about a cause and effect. Black women reported being more severely abused with greater force. Black women report being more severely abused with greater force. They also report more upset, greater long-term effects, and more negative life experience from sexual abuse than white women. Among the effects, you have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. You have depression, anxiety, eating disorders, substance abuse, such as drug abuse, self-mutilation, and things like that, and much, much more. Now, we're going to talk about the youth, the young and the troubled. Adolescents commit 23% of all sex offenses. Adolescents commit 23% of all sex offenses. Experts say young abusers are more responsive to treatment than adults. They're more responsive to treatment than adults. Okay. Let's talk about prolific predators. Okay. I'm kind of going through this fast, but you can go and replay the video. You can share with family and friends. And you can understand exactly what we're talking about here. All right. Child sex offenders tend to victimize more often than other sexual offenders. 70% of child sex offenders had between 1 and 9 victims. 23% between 10 and 40 victims. 10 and 40 victims. Between 10 and 40 victims, 23%. That is utterly insane. Utterly insane. That's you know how you have serial killers, that's a serial rapist. That's a serial rapist. I mean, you know, we talk about child abuse, that's rape. These are serial rapists that we're talking about. Quiet as kept, child abuse, child sexual abusers operate in silence and isolation. And the tools that they use to target and control their prey, they use different tools that they use to target and control their victims, their prey. Few tend to be violent, right? Because they're violent, then that would they definitely get caught because they will have the victim will have the marks to show, and they'll get caught very easily. But it makes them difficult to catch because they're not abusing them physically as it relates to child sexual abuse. They're not abusing them physically, like, you know, punching and smacking and things like that. So it makes them difficult to catch. Now, this is just part 1. Stay tuned to part 2, where we're going to get more in detail on this particular subject. Okay. Check in on your people. Make sure that they're okay. It's difficult. It's difficult because we're sheltering in place and doing the social distancing thing that we really don't know what's going on. Okay. We can just hope and pray that nothing is going on, but in reality, we know that the numbers are probably a lot higher than they are. Even though the calls are not coming in as they should, the number of child sexual abuse incidents are steadily increasing. So with that said, don't forget, hit the thumbs up button. It helps the channel to grow. Hit the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you'll get notifications and updates about when I upload videos such as this. If you feel that this content was valuable to you or somebody else, hit the subscribe button. As always, love somebody, but more importantly, love yourself. Stay safe, take care of yourself, check on the elderly, and check on the youth. As always, peace.